Oh, yep. It was a really surreal trip. There wasn't enough alcohol in the state of Colorado, it turned out, for that trip. And then I got COVID. So that was cool. Anyway, on that note, and then I got COVID. All right, welcome to the Games That Made Us. I'm Brent. I'm here with my friend Kirk, and we are going to talk about two games, childhood favorites of ours. We're going to talk about Captain Skyhawk for the NES, and we're going to talk about Legend of the Mystical Ninja for the Super Nintendo, which is possibly the greatest game on the Super Nintendo.
You say that.
I do.
Well, first, Guten Tag, mein Lieben.
Yes.
What are you doing? What are you drinking over there, buddy?
Certainly those words that you said that I completely understood. I'm drinking a Tropic Mutant experimental IPA from Oscar Blues, which, as we were just discussing, is in northern Colorado, and they make very, very tasty beers that I like.
Yep. Cool.
How about you?
I'm drinking some from Fringe Beer Works, their Water for Elephant series. They did a very short run of their fruit punch. I know it sounds kind of weird, but it's a rare thing where it's just like, oh, well, it's on tap, and they may never make it ever again. I might as well try it. It'd be weird not to, even though fruit punch and whatever is not really my jam. It's like, yeah, I'll give it a try.
Absolutely.
It's okay, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to be fair, modern IPAs and fruit punch taste very similar, so we're kind of we're like, kissing cousins at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, maybe later.
Okay.
After a couple more beers.
Yeah, and yeah, that's just called Alabama everywhere else. Anyway, so yeah, you were mentioning that we're going to talk about childhood games today. Which one would you prefer to start with? Because just so everyone knows the format, in the event that one of us hasn't played the other game, obviously we warn each other what things we want to talk about first, so that way it gives us the chance for the other person to go ahead and play it through a few times, get either reacquainted or play an entirely new game.
Completely for the first time for me.
So
cool.
I think Captain Skyhawk was the very first time.
Yep, I honestly hadn't even heard of this one before, and I like given the well, actually, okay, hang on. Let's start with Captain Skyhawk.
Okay.
Let me have you. Okay, here's. Let me have you do the official telling of the base stats for the game.
Well, I could have done most of this off the top of my head.
Fair enough.
So, this game was developed by Rare,
right.
The same Rare that
right.
That would go on to do the Donkey Kong games, or Donkey Kong Country, I should say. GoldenEye, anything Rare. That company made this game, but this was so long ago when fucking Milton Bradley,
right.
the board game people, they were the publisher. They did a lot of games, especially in the Nintendo era,
right?
Which was always bizarre to me. It's like I would go to back when I was a kid, a Walmart or whatever, and you'd see that. I think it's like a red M and a blue B.
Yep.
On like every damn board game, every puzzle game.
Yep.
So it's really weird when you'd go to the store and you'd see a Nintendo cartridge with that same logo.
Right.
It's like, because nowadays you don't think toys and video games is necessarily the same thing, even though they kind of are in a way.
Yeah. Well, and there were a lot of toy companies involved.
Yes, absolutely.
In video games in that era too. So it's weird now, but.
So it came out in 1990. It's just a top-down kind of shooter. If you've ever played games like Glaxion, almost the same thing.
It kind of reminded me of Zaxxon, if you've ever played Zaxxon.
Or Zaxxon, is that what I was thinking of?
Yeah, the one that's like that's kind of isometric and yeah.
And you pilot what is basically a modified, I think it's a F-14.
Yeah,
I know it's called a Tomcat.
Yeah,
and if you ever watch Top Gun,
highly modified.
Yeah, highly modified. Modified to the point where this Tomcat could fly into outer space, which is pretty cool in its own right.
Yeah.
But it's single player only. I mean, it's an NES game, so it's very straightforward. You kind of have to, in a way, make up your own story. Like, they really don't tell you what's going on. like the title drops and then it's just like mission 1.
Right.
Which was always kind of interesting to me. I got introduced to the game obviously when I was very, very young. I don't know if it was just a cheap game or just something that looked cool, because back in that day it's not as if they had demo cartridges laying around.
Right.
So it really was like you have to judge a book by its cover, because even reviews weren't that common, and even then you had to get a magazine subscription, and when you live in the middle of nowhere and your family's broke as hell,
right.
like you're not like I couldn't
That'll
even
be a theme.
I couldn't even get comic books, like, so a gaming publication, oh hell no.
Yeah.
But I think it was one of those, you know, it looked cool. Top Gun was huge back in that day, so my brother and dad were probably riding that high and just wanted it, and I played the hell out of it. Now it's not a very long game,
No.
but I had a lot of fun just because of how it changes gameplay styles. It goes from top down to then behind, like every other level.
Right.
You have a view from behind.
It's like Afterburner. It
yeah,
kind of turns
exactly.
into... Yeah.
You have a Afterburner style viewpoint where you're behind the jet, where otherwise it's top down. And I always found that interesting because there weren't a ton of games like that for the NES that would try to pull off two... I mean, that's like trying to program two completely different games.
And this game was, like, just real quick, this game was absolutely mind-blowing for me just in terms of what they were able to pull off on the NES hardware. And I owned an NES too, so, like, I mean, I've played a ton of NES games. This one was visually really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Really impressive.
So when you're going through the levels, especially the top-down levels, if you're trying to... when you're developing a game that's like that, you have to basically use tricks of your own to give things the appearance of them being 3D.
Mm-hmm.
This game uses a lot of pyramids and such, and then they give it depth by making the shadow of the jet itself move over it a certain way to give it the illusion that thing actually has height. Which is, again, that's pretty impressive for a Nintendo game when you're used to just side-scrollers or simple, like, gauntlet move around, go to XYZ place. And Brent, I'm going to ask real quick, did you figure out how to do a barrel roll? Because you can barrel roll in this game.
Yes. Oh my god, it's select, isn't it?
Yeah, you hold select.
Yes.
It's not of much use ever.
No, I didn't.
It's horrible.
It's not for anything. It's just cool.
So I was introduced to it pretty young. I played the hell out of it. I think when I was probably somewhere around 5 when I first played it. Had a lot of fun. My favorite thing about that game that still gets me when I replayed it the other day to refresh my memory was the soundtrack.
Yeah.
The soundtrack has no reason to slap as hard as it does.
It's David Wise. It's the Donkey Kong Country composer.
Yep, the composer who did Donkey Kong Country is the same composer who did this game back in 1990.
Yeah.
And it's so... My favorite track is when it is the triumphant win after defeating an enemy boss.
Yeah.
and even before that, like, you get up to the boss, and it's doing that very rhythmic...
Yeah. The little, like, drum beat. Yeah. Yeah, it's very Flea. It's very...
Like, the whole boss fight is fucking dope. When you, like, the very second you defeat the final boss, or pick up a scientist or complete your mission or whatever, it does like this explosion, like just like, I remember that, and I was just being so fucking pumped as a kid.
Yeah.
Like you get that fantastic, just that, and it's like, yeah, I'm the best fucker on this playground. I'm the Red Ranger. Give me your juice box. And it was so fun. It was, as you do.
Right. As you do. As you do. Oh my God.
I'm the Red Power Ranger on this playground, motherfucker. No, but the whole soundtrack is like
it's
that.
sick. Like my only complaint with it was that I wanted there to be more of it. Like it was like there were big stretches where I felt like it was really quiet or non-existent, and then like the music would come in and I'd be like, this is fucking excellent. Where was this hiding the whole time? And then I went and looked it up and it's like, oh, it's David Wise. Of course it fucking is.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Like during a lot of the missions there is no music.
Yeah.
There's only, and maybe that's why they put so much effort into the wind music or the boss fight or even the mission briefing sounds cool.
Yeah.
They even like the ending of the game, like when you're punching in your name for a high score, that has its own song you don't hear anywhere else in the game.
And that was my that might have been, other than the opening of the game. Other than that, like opening like menu screen track, the high score table music was probably my favorite in the game. Like it was just like so perky and upbeat and fun and like. I'm a video game music composer nerd. That's something that I care about very deeply, and
I'm surprised you picked up or researched it was David Wise. That's awesome.
Oh fuck yeah, David Wise.
He even did the newest one I would recognize at least was like Ukulele.
Yeah,
like not Banjo Kazooie, but the other.
Yeah.
And he did that. He's still doing it today. That came out.
He's touring. You can go see David Wise in concert with a group of jazz musicians from England, and they do different like concert versions of his music from like N64, SNES, and NES era Rare. And I'm like, that sounds amazing. I need that. That needs to happen. We should do that. We should run away together and go to a David Wise concert.
He's probably such a normal guy. We go up to him just like fanboying, just like, "Here, David.
Aquatic ambience changed my life.
Sign my copy of Captain Skyhawk." And he's like, "When you guys get out of here?"
Yeah, like you just don't.
I'll fucking kill you.
Yes. All right. So let's leave our plans to drunkenly murder David Wise for a different time. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I have things. I have things to say. Do you have more?
I really wish in that game though they would have made using the alternate weapons like the missiles and stuff more apparent, or at least told you kind of what they're for.
Yeah, what the fuck was going on with that?
They really don't like so. You'd have to read about it because again they don't tell you anywhere. Like
right.
Maybe the old manual, because games used to have manuals.
Right.
Maybe they tell you in there, but in a lot of sections of the the top down levels there would be 5 enemies that are identical in
right.
like one screen. Well, if you kill all 5 of them before you leave the screen, you get a credit that you can use to spend on weapons.
Yes.
And that's supposed to help you buy more weapons, but you could also just be so good at the afterburner kind of part where...
Right, because that gives you credits for weapons, too.
Yeah, each plane you blow up is a credit.
Okay.
So the weapons kind of take a back seat. So if you play the game enough, you figured out you can just put all your credits towards the cannon.
Yes.
And you can just hold down the fire button.
Right, because it makes it an auto-fire.
Yeah, it's auto-fire. And you can get it by the 3rd level.
Yeah.
And then you just need to hold down the A button the entire, or is it whatever, the fire button the entire time. That's all you need for the rest of the game. There's that. That was just not having weapon choices. But then, how you're kind of obligated to hold the down button the entire game. Because that makes your nose pitch up and down.
That was one of my major frustrations with the game as well. Because there were very few things in this game that felt cheap. There were very few things in this game that felt like they hated you, which is surprising for an NES game. Because most NES games hated, like the developers clearly just hated small children and wanted them to suffer and be unhappy. see Ghouls and Ghosts and Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah.
I love that series.
Yeah.
But that's probably to do with my rampant self-loathing.
That's a different episode.
Yeah, that's episode 2.
Yeah.
The fact that I constantly had to pitch the nose up throughout the whole, like, through the whole playthrough, which especially given the fact that it then shifts, you know, every second level or third level to a afterburner style. I also love the dock, the space station. We gotta come back to that.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
But it's teaching you to constantly be pitching your nose up. And then you have the levels where that is fucking awful. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Like the fighter jet afterburner style levels.
Your character just hits the top of the screen.
Right.
It's not as if you die, but it's just like
the fucking final boss.
Yeah.
Which we can get to. But yeah, no, that I agree. That part was...
And even as a kid, because they built that entire altitude, there's an altitude meter even. And it's like, I eventually got curious. I'm like, why did they implement this in the game but even though it has like almost no purpose. I even tried fiddling around, like flying like half height. It makes no fucking difference, except when you're lower altitude, you hit more shit.
Right.
That's it. And I'm like, fucking why even put it in? Just take off and have your character at max height or max altitude, because you're going to be holding down the entire time anyways, because it doesn't make any difference. That annoyed me so much. Like a lot of those gauges don't serve any purpose.
Right. Other than to make you feel like a badass fighter pilot because you're 7.
Yeah.
I will say I wish that it had been by default that it would maintain altitude. Like that seems like the simplest thing to me.
It doesn't.
And it doesn't do that. That's not what it does.
No.
It wants you to just crash straight into the ground. That was definitely a shared frustration there.
But the final boss, the space station, the space station whole scene is completely unnecessary, but it's so fun in a way too.
Okay.
Like, you eventually catch Wise and kind
David Wise.
You're a dead man. Like, you just, pitch your bird up just a bit to right above, like, the center of the screen where you see the stars swirling, and then that's it. And then you can get to that point even before the space station even, like, fully gets on screen, and then you just hit the button and you go right in.
I don't understand.
It's like, why...
Yes.
I loved it. It was fun.
It's super cool.
The game is almost like a tech demo of things they wanted to do but couldn't complete.
Yes. This game is fun. It's goofy. It's stupid. It has things that nobody needs. You don't need the space station.
No.
It adds nothing to the gameplay. But if you're or the altitude gauge. If you're 6 and you're playing on an NES in the basement, hooked up to a black and white 8-inch TV through a friggin' like RCA jack, and it's just all staticky and shitty. This would have been the coolest game ever. Like because it does it goes to exceptional lengths to make you feel like you're a fighter pilot.
Yeah, especially the levels where you are going balls to the wall fast.
Yes. And the dogfight levels were my favorite. Yeah.
Like, was it like level 3 and then I think like 6 or 7. What annoys me is once you die, you don't get to go that fast anymore. They should have just let you keep going that fast.
Right.
That's what made those levels some of the funnest ones, because you were so challenging because you're moving so damn fast.
Yes. And so I have two big things I want to get to.
No, go for it. I'm done, man.
One, in terms of the isometric shooter, because I love shmups. I'm a huge shoot 'em up guy. It's probably the genre of video game that I spend the most time playing. And and as soon as you sent me Captain Skyhawk, and I'm like, okay, I've never heard of this game. Let me boot it up. And as soon as it fucking popped into that like pseudo 3D perspective, I just about fucking spiked my Retroid into the ground. I was like, no fucking way. Because I've played so many of these like pseudo 3D isometric games from the late 80s, early 90s. I mentioned Zaxxon. There's another game for the Neo Geo called Viewpoint that I've I was about to say I really like. That's not true. I fucking hate that game. But there's a bunch of these. This was a whole subgenre of shooter, and most of them are really bad. Like, they're really bad at indicating to you where you are on the screen. And this was really playable and really fun. The controls were really fluid. I always knew where I was and where I was supposed to be. It made me so mad at Zaxxon. Because I was like, fucking Rare, which at the time was like 20 guys in a basement in England, they figured it out. And I'm like, what the fuck were you doing? Like, this is...
Yeah, 20 guys in that dead man, David Wise.
Oh, sorry, David. It's just gotta happen now. But it made me so mad at all these games that I've wasted my time with. And I was like, fucking 1990, and they already had it down. Like, somebody had showed them how to do it right. And then I got to the fighter jet level. And it was like, oh, it's Afterburner on the NES. That's so cool. And I'm like, this controls like dog shit.
It is very exaggerated. Like, when you go left hard. Or you go right hard. There is no nice pseudo balance where it autocorrects. It's like, it's going to go left until you tell it, basically, to kind of turn back right again.
Well, and what's so weird to me is that
I guess in a way that does make, like, that's how a jet would move.
Sure.
Like, it's not it doesn't correct itself. If you tell it to turn left, it's going to keep going left until you tell it not to.
Absolutely. It is very realistic in a game where you fly your F-14 to space. My main issue with the game is you have these really tight controls in the isometric levels, and then you get to the fighter jet levels, and the game teaches you that it doesn't matter, because that's a bonus stage. As long as you avoid getting shot down, as long as you can avoid the missiles, which is super easy, you just have to stay a couple pixels away from you and from them, and they won't lock onto you. You're good. And so I'm like, well, I don't need to learn how to do this correctly or well. Who cares? It's not like it'll come up. It fucking came up. That's how the fucking boss is, the final boss of the game. And so I get to the final boss, and I use save states because I'm a fucking filthy casual, but like...
Well, then we have, like, families and stuff.
Yeah, like real life. Yeah. I can't get good anymore.
Just don't have the time.
Right? Oh, sadness.
Daddy, stop playing.
Stop playing Donkey Kong.
Stop playing Captain Skyhawk. Get out of here. I gotta do this for my podcast.
Come wipe my butt. We got Donkey Kong kill screen coming up here, guys. But no.
Why does it say hashtag kill David Weiss and blood on your wall? Daddy, you're scaring me.
Oh, David Weiss. But no, like, the game teaches you isometric perspective is what matters. That part was the part where you had to, like, learn how the control scheme worked.
Yeah.
And then the final boss came, and the final boss was in that fucking Afterburner style, and it was goddamn impossible. Well,
not if you had the auto can. You just hold A and just kind of...
No, I did that. I did that.
I
don't know, man. Like, I hadn't learned how to, like,
and they don't let
subtly correct.
They really don't let you use your missiles or nothing during that point, too.
No.
Which is kind of bizarre. It's like, you got to use your missiles even in the other Afterburner sections, but not the final boss. Like, you relied solely on your cannon.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On the normal levels, your secondary weapons, does it just fire them in, like, whatever order it decides?
So, from what I understand, it's originally based on altitude, which I know we talked about earlier, I experimented it as a kid, but it when you're at top altitude, it really is random, and it really depends on what enemies are on the screen at the time, where I can switch between, like, Phoenix and Maverick's missiles, or straight up just the big firebombs. The firebombs, if you just lower your altitude a little,
sure,
you could properly make those fire off every time. Like I like that sound effect.
Yes.
That was really cool. Or hawk bombs, I think they're called. They're all supposed to be attached to altitude, but I never could make it work the way I wanted to.
No, it just
And
does it.
sometimes there'd be a helicopter or some other thing, and it'd want to use a Maverick missile, and it's like fucking fine. But at that point, again, that whole game you can go through without using any missiles or any bombs, period.
Yeah.
Which, again, it goes back to, like, it's kind of like a tech demo. Like, they had a really good idea, and it's a wonderful game.
Yeah, I really liked it.
They had a lot of components of what they wanted to do in place, but maybe they ran out of time or ran out of money because, I mean, god damn, like, guys, the publisher was Milton Bradley, the fucking board game people.
Right.
I can't imagine they had a ton of money to make this game.
I'm certain the development cycle was,
and I'm sure David took so much money off the top.
No. Is that going to be our stake? Are we going to be against David Wise? I love David Wise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got to do something because normally they say comedy, do it in threes, but that's the only one. I have just the one that's killed David Wise.
No.
That's what I latched onto. That's what this is going to be about.
Oh, no.
Like if Ferris Bueller's Day Off, this is like, save Ferris. It's going to be like, kill Wise. Kill Wise. Poor unassuming British man doesn't know what's coming to him.
This man wrote Aquatic Ambience. Come on, dude. All right. I really liked the game. I think it was visually, it looked spectacular for an NES game. I loved the sound. I know I that's a hot button topic right now. Did he do we know if he did the GoldenEye soundtrack too?
I assume so because it seemed like he was like the
rare guy.
Yeah, just look at his.
He was like the Koji Kondo.
Oh yeah, Rare. Like he did. And not just like Donkey Kong Country, literally all the Donkey Kong Country games. Right. And then he came back to do like the Tropical Freeze remake or whatever that was. They brought him back even though he quit Rare. Yeah. They wanted to come back and do that. So like, I wouldn't be shocked if he did GoldenEye, just because he seemed to be there for all of those games that Rare was doing in its early years. I mean,
that's such an incredible body of work. Like that's so cool.
But that was my childhood game, and like, I don't even consider it a 10 out of 10, but it was something that was there. No. It had all, like, I could talk all day about, like, other games all of us played, like Mario 3 or whatever. But I wanted to pick one that was, like, different, that not a lot of my friends have played. I've given this game to a lot of my other friends, and they're just like, this is a solid game. Yeah. But even to me, it's like maybe a 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. But it hits it every time I hear that theme song, every time. It hits me right in the nostalgia balls, and then cradles them a little bit and says it's sorry afterwards. As they do. As they do. That's all I have to say about that.
And that's all anyone said to anyone.
Yeah.
All right.
So, do we want to move on to yours now? Because I have some things that I would like to complain about. I mean,
I'm so scared.
Savagely berate you about.
All right. So, let's talk about The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, also known as Ganbare Goemon Yokihime Kui Shutsu Amaki? One of those. I'm sure everyone would like to compliment me on my flawless Japanese pronunciation.
Fucking super kawaii desu.
Yeah. On the Super Nintendo in 1991. It's only 1 year later than your fucking game.
Yeah, well, that's your fault that they couldn't... No, it's their fault. They couldn't hire David Wise.
That's true. That's true. It's a Konami game for the Super Nintendo. Obviously, Konami not known for any good games on the Super Nintendo at all.
Oh, sure, none, absolutely none.
Super Castlevania 4.
Yeah, in fact, I heard like Konami's like dead and they're not doing anything anymore.
Well, they are.
I think
now.
they're like bankrupt.
They just make fucking Packy Slot games now.
Oh,
That's their whole thing. Kind of like you were talking about with being poorer kid, more rural kid. We didn't have access to a ton of stuff. My dad bought a Super Nintendo kind of spur of the moment when we really didn't have the money for a fucking Super Nintendo.
Which is weird because his dad works for Nintendo. And like,
that's what I've heard.
Yeah, and then like, he just couldn't get the free games like everyone else. He's like, no, you gotta earn it.
Of course, it came with Super Mario World, which like top 10 games of all time for me. And then my dad and I were huge Godzilla fans. That was like how we spent our summers, was my mom was going back to school, my dad would play, or would sit with me, and we would watch old Godzilla movies. So we bought King of the Monsters, which I don't know if you've ever played that game. It's the fucking worst thing that's ever happened to anyone ever.
Is that the one with like the map at top? Then you go to separate areas, and then you like have a boss, like not a boss fight, but like you fight.
Yeah,
Mothra
it's like a wrestling style fight.
Okay,
too.
Yeah.
That game blows.
It was really bad.
Yeah, but so for a while there, those were the 2 Super Nintendo games we had, because you couldn't afford. People forget that a new video game in the 90s was the same price as a new video game now. It was a $60 game. So I got super used to going to the rental places. We had Funko Land down in Texas, and this game was one of the first ones that I picked up. I picked it up because it's got a absolutely batshit crazy cover with giant heads and weird, upsetting art.
Straight up one of the main protagonists just riding a tiger.
No, which doesn't happen in the game at all. That's not a thing that happens.
Yeah, if you use one of the judo moves.
Hey everybody, future Brent here. Just a quick editor's note. I'm in the process of going through this and trying to rescue some salvageable audio from our conversation about Legend of the Mystical Ninja. But what you're about to hear is Kirk live and in person telling me about a key game mechanic of one of my favorite games of all time. I then proceed to have basically a complete mental breakdown as I realize that I've essentially been playing my favorite game wrong for 30 years. I'm going to make a valiant attempt to salvage something out of this, but it's messy from here on out. So I hope you enjoy, and back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Do you never use the judo moves?
The judo moves. Oh no, am I going to learn something about this?
Oh my god.
What?
You know the little scrolls you pick up everywhere after defeating an enemy? That if you click 10 of them, like the indicator at the top says POW, and it tells you like how many of the judo moves you could use. And there's like 3 different levels.
What?
We played the same game, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, hang on. Oh no.
Did I just ruin your childhood?
Oh,
I hope so. Then I won't have to kill David Wise. Okay. This is enough. I killed your childhood.
Oh no.
There's the martial arts trainers that are around town in those sections. Like, did you never learn the moves with the judo people around town?
Oh yeah. There's like there's a guy who teaches you like, oh, I'll up your defense if you learn this.
Yeah, he will teach you random levels, and what sucks is that only lasts for that level, which is, I can go into some of my complaints about the game, but you never use the judo attack moves?
No, I didn't know this was a thing.
Well, one of them is like, I can't remember the one you use the tiger, maybe that's the one where you like kind of fly around and you're invincible, I can't remember.
Oh my god.
And you just attack things on the screen?
No,
you need to break this up on, like...
Yes!
You need to get on Wikipedia or whatever right now, I know...
Hang on, hang on. We're taking...
He's typing right now.
Oh my god.
No, we're going to keep recording. You're going to include this because I want to see just everyone realize what a fucking idiot you are.
Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
He's looking.
Images.
It's the X button on the Super Nintendo controller.
Okay.
Because otherwise A is attack and B is jump. And to use a judo attack...
Activates judo selection screen. Here can you attack Koban Tiger, Lightning Blaster, Super Yin, and Kabuki Quantum Yin. What the fuck? No!
David, you're safe!
No! Oh, and what's great about this is I've beaten this game like 30 times. What the fuck? No. Is there like a video? Can I watch a video of the fucking judo attacks? 'Cause I want to see. I've never seen this.
Oh god. How did you never question like, hey, what are all of these scrolls for I keep picking up everywhere? What does that POW thing do? What is that indicator for?
What the fuck?
Okay, he's pulling up a video right now. Hopefully you can just kind of scroll through this guy's little walkthrough and But while he's finding that, so in one of the shops in most areas, there's a judo master or whatever who can teach you a technique. There's like one of three. And he'll teach it to you, but it's only available for that area for the rest of the level. Like, you don't get to just keep it the rest of the game. And I think Brent kind of knows, or he's at least run to the martial arts guy before, and was learning the moves, but didn't know how to use them.
Oh my god!
So he's
What the fuck?
yeah, this is a great moment. I just ruined somebody's childhood today, which that's awesome.
It's a real thing. Oh my god. Okay, for fucking years now, I have been saying that I hate the cover of this game because of the fucking tiger. And I'm like, this is bullshit. There's no tiger in the game.
That's so funny because you're like, and it's not a thing in the game. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's literally an attack.
Oh my god.
You suck. You suck.
Oh no. Alright, I'll keep going. But I'd like to state right here for the record and for our listeners that Kirk clearly knows more about this game than I do. So that's pretty cool. I've only been playing it for 30 years. It's not hurtful or weird at all. Anyway.
Were you never curious? Like, then the judo match, like, you get hurt too. Like, you have to go to the inn or recuperate your health. You just never, like, were just like, what was that for?
No.
No. You never even, like, just happened to press X on your controller?
Okay. No. So I always was just like, fuck it. Like, you get hurt. I'm not going to do that anymore. So then I never went back to those guys.
Oh, my God.
I decided at age, like probably 10 to not go to those fucking guys anymore.
You're a dumb bitch, ain't you?
Yes. Oh.
Well, now you're going to have to replay it. You're going to be like, oh, my God, this game is, like, so much better with these random judo.
Okay. So, all right. So there you go. All right. So here's my fucking point. Is you're bitching about the game, and okay. So then I assume,
I'm giving him really snarky, smart ass looks right now.
Jesus,
I think I just broke this poor man's brain.
I'm so tired. Okay, all right. Okay, hang on. All right,
come back. Pretend you didn't hear that.
Okay.
You didn't learn that.
So there's no way, like I was saying, there's no way to get the tiger in the game that any reasonable person has ever come up with. Oh. Sorry, that just totally derailed me.
Yeah, now you know why I have criticisms of this game, because it doesn't just outright tell you.
No, the okay, thank you, because that actually is a lead back into reality for me for a second here. I assume you used the armor and the sandals and shit too.
Yeah. That was a weird one. I actually had to look that one up because I'm like, why am I getting 3 stacks? Like that would to me that seems like wearing 3 sandals on top of each other would slow me the fuck down.
Right. And the pizza, which I love because it's actually rice balls. I want to get to the localization, and I want to get to the history of this series. Spoiler alert. I won't. I'm reoriented. I'm better now. I've had my breakdown. I'm just very dumb, but that's okay. So anyway, I rented this game. This looks really cool. And this one, and then there's another game called Lost Vikings that are probably my 2 favorite rentals that I ever had. It is so adorable and charming and goofy and very, very Japanese. Like, to your point about like the documentation, like I never had the manual, so I assume the manual teaches you some things, but maybe not. You're playing as Goemon Ishikawa, but the fucking translation calls him Kid Ying.
Yeah.
Because obviously,
reasons.
Right, like yin and yang. That's a thing that's famously a Japanese cultural concept.
They're all like Taoists or whatever too.
Right.
Like, totally, everyone knows.
Yeah,
that.
Everybody knows that.
Definitely no like Christians or anything like that in Japan.
My favorite part is Goemon's a real person. Like this is a historical. This is Japan's Robin Hood.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up.
And they're like, Yeah, no, we're just gonna name him something else because Americans don't like Japan things. It's not like it's the '90s and ninjas are everywhere and anime is becoming a thing. Like, no, we have to American this up.
And they even make multiple references in the game of him being a thief too, like a master thief.
Yes.
And it's just not addressed.
Right, at all.
It's not
At
addressed.
all. The way this game works, you have these sort of RPG style village sections where you're walking around, you're interacting with merchants, you're going into different different kung fu master dojos, and you're learning different skills. There is still a combat element. Basically, what you're doing is you're walking around and you're stealing people's money. Then it reverts to a side-scrolling action platformer, kind of along the same lines as like a Castlevania or a Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever. Like you're scrolling to the right, you're using multiple weapons that you can pick up along the way, or in fact, you can actually use the currency that you've acquired. You can throw coins at people to kill them too.
Which is weird.
It is very weird.
I never used.
Dude. Okay, the very first boss, the ghost lady.
Oh, the spinning plates and all that. Yeah.
Using the coins makes it so much easier. Like even than the yo-yo. The yo-yo is super OP, but like the.
So I have complaints about the yo-yo. I want to get into.
Oh no, you have complaints about the yo-yo?
I have complaints about the yo-yo.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. All right. But so.
And then raccoon dog, just Tanuki.
Yes.
Tanuki.
I know it's yes.
You said like robot dog like 2-3.
No,
Tanuki.
raccoon dog. Raccoon dog.
Tanuki.
I know it's a Tanuki, but it's in the.
Say Tanuki.
I don't want to say Tanuki because it doesn't say Tanuki in the fucking game. Okay, I'll call
It doesn't say robot or robot dog. Yeah, robot dog.
It definitely doesn't say robot dog.
Doesn't say robot. It doesn't say raccoon dog either.
It does say raccoon dog.
Does it really?
He calls
Is it
them
because they didn't think us stupid Westerners would be
It
able
calls
to
them raccoon dogs. Yeah.
Oh my god, the Japanese really did not like us, did they?
No, there was a whole war about that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that was a thing. Honestly, if you didn't know about World War II, I would still feel dumber than you. Just based on the fucking judo attacks.
Well, it's just a quick little thing of Tanuki. What is that? Mario 3? Like
Yes.
It's the Tanuki suit.
Yeah.
Is what he had. Especially the brown one where he turns into a statue because Tanukis in Japan, it's they usually have them like statues outside houses. And
Yeah. It's like a good luck charm.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Pocky and Rocky?
No.
Okay, so there's this series of we're gonna get back to the game that I clearly don't know anything about here in a second, but Pocky and Rocky is a vertical shooter where you're either a little girl or a Tanuki, and you're throwing the little like cards that Shinto people like leave at the altars. That's your projectile, and then you're like walking up and killing ghosts and stuff with it. And it's just absolutely adorable and stupid. They came out with a remake of it for the Switch just recently called Pocky and Rocky Reshrined. But yeah, so like you can play as a Tanuki, and he's super cute, and I love him, and I want like a plush of him to snuggle with. But anyway,
well, the checkpoint guy in the part of the game we're talking about, like. It's a giant Tanuki statue, the one that warns you, like, hey, it's very dangerous ahead. And that kind of denotes when you're going from the more RPG kind of city walking around to going to the side-scrolling
action platformer.
Yeah. Like I can't even rightfully say beat 'em up because it's more of a platformer really than anything. Like a lot of the enemies suck, but it's not as but it's not like in the RPG sections where there's clearly more 3 dimensions where you can go up and down.
Yes.
This is purely. Or I mean, like up and down, as in like back and forth in a spatial area.
It has a Z-axis.
Yes, it has exactly. And then in the next section, there isn't that. It's all platforming. Yeah. But the Tanuki it's nice that they use them as a checkpoint too. Now, I'm a bitch, and I eventually got so frustrated and just started using save states because like I don't have time for this fucking garbage.
I want to be clear. The last like 2 or 3 times that I've beaten the game, like anytime I've beaten the game as an adult, I've used save states too. Because particularly after you get past the fair or whatever it's called, the
amusement park.
Yeah, the amusement park.
I spent a lot of time there.
I
just
love the
winning
amusement
money.
park. Yeah. Did you play Gradius?
No, I just played the quiz game so I could just get so much money.
Okay. So this is one of my favorite parts of this game. So and this is actually, I was talking to somebody online about this not too long ago because Kirk knows this obviously, but for y'all, gotten back into collecting retro video games, and I bought a Super Famicom from Japan and imported it and started, collecting games for it. And I was talking to somebody online, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like what games would you recommend for somebody who's trying to build up a shoot 'em up library for their Super Famicom on the cheap?" And I was like, "Well, if you get Legend of the Mystical Ninja, which is Ganbare Goemon in Japan, you can get both that game and the full arcade version of Gradius, because they just ported Gradius to the Super Nintendo, the original arcade version, and stuck it in the amusement park."
Yeah, because Konami was just like, well, we got all this extra space on the cartridge. Let's throw one of our old games in here
Right.
because of reasons.
And it's I think it's Arkanoid is the other one that's in there too.
Yeah. I read about all that, and what's interesting to me is that it doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. At least in other games, well, not all games, but a lot of games, if you complete like the little mini game, they give you extra money or something, or a weapon.
No, it's not useful. It's
no,
just
in
fun.
this, it's just, it does nothing. It literally does nothing. It wastes your time. That's it.
I mean, it's not a waste of time. It's like dude, okay, it's like have you played the Yakuza series?
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, so there's a series of modern like beat 'em up games called the Yakuza games, and they're really fun. And they have like a full ass arcade in them, and then you can just like go and like people are paying money for VR, and it's like you can just play arcade games in Legend of the Mystical Ninja, because that's a comparable experience. Don't buy an Oculus Quest, buy Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
Yeah. Do you hear all this nice gaming knowledge he's giving you, considering how he used the judo attack?
Oh.
Knows so much about this game,
dude.
Yeah, don't buy an Oculus. You should play the secondary game and inside of this other game I totally know everything about.
But so anyway, it's a very simple story. It's a rescue the princess game. Alternates between these like as Kirk was saying, like these like kind of isometric RPG sections and these side-scrolling action platformer sections. You can it's 2-player compatible. You can play as either Goemon, Kid Yang, or Ibisamaru, Dr. Yang.
Yeah.
And it's very fun. I love the music. The music like that da 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 da. That is like burned into my brain for the rest of my life. But it is just bright and colorful and fun and goofy and very, very Japanese. And as someone who grew up in, rural Texas and Missouri, it was like just so outside of my experience, and I loved it.
Yeah, he was like, this is everyday life in Japan. This is awesome.
This is just what it's like to be a Japanese person. Yeah. There's giant testicled tanukis shooting coins at you, and there's people who've been turned into purple cats, and there's
and the cats can talk. And
that's
cool.
That's just like,
and your miracle transport machine is totally not just a fucking cannon.
No. Not at all. And there's ladies who are just wrapped up in white cloth who fall from the ceiling and bounce on your heads. That's just Japan.
And weird clown faces coming out of the darkness, and they get bigger, and when you attack them,
and then their faces fall off, and then reorient themselves onto the that's just Japan.
Yeah.
But anyway, Kirk.
Yes.
Your thoughts on Legend of the Mystical Ninja?
The gameplay itself wasn't it was fun, but there are just nuances that drove me fucking crazy, where if I didn't play with save states, I was going to throw my goddamn controller across the room.
Sure.
Like, you point out the music. The music in it is delightful.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It matched perfectly. It was great. I liked the little RPG sections of each little town. Did you ever play like Scott Pilgrim versus the World? How there's little sections where they have like the world where you can go into like the burger shops or whatever,
Okay.
the video store, but there's still like dangers outside the door, like
Yeah.
people you got to fight. It was like that, you know. It was like the precursor to all of that to me. It seemed like was this game, but the hitboxes can just suck the fattest part of my asshole. Holy shit! Like at least when I play games like Streets of Rage, who kind of also have that same kind of style.
Yeah.
Like if I get punched like randomly, it's like, oh well, I guess I was too far up or too far down when
Sure.
I thought I was just far enough out of reach. This fucking game makes no goddamn sense when it comes to hitboxes.
Okay, but Streets of Rage is probably the most finely tuned 16-bit fighting game.
Still though, this game's sense of just spatial awareness is bizarre. Like there's sections of towns where it's just like, oh, there's clearly an open path between the bottom of the screen and this box. I'm gonna go down to get in between this box and the bottom of the screen. Fuck that. The game is just like, no, you have to go north because it obviously in any normal sense should be an area you can walk in. You can't walk in. Fuck you.
Right.
Oh my god, it was like that the entire game. How the hell did I get hit by this Japanese lady throwing these fucking decks of cards or newspapers at me
on the bridge?
I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. I was clearly out of the way. In these games, there should be a sort of parallax where they throw it, and let's say it's my hair, it shouldn't hit me. But this game is just like, no, the hitbox is everything that
everything
is you.
of you, yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like, if you try to put yourself in that sense of space that character's in, based off the perspective, that paper should go by you. It does not give a shit. And it's so hard to line up, especially if you're not using the yo-yo, which is a whole other thing. If you're using
the
yin, and you're using his shillelagh or whatever
that
is, or tobacco
it's a pipe, yeah.
Yeah. I kept referring to it as a shillelagh.
The very Japanese weapon, the shillelagh.
The shillelagh, yeah. That's where it came from, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
You know, they got leprechaun. That's where leprechauns came from, too.
That's true. Yeah, there's little known yeah.
But
yeah, Kirk laying the mythological rap on you here.
Yeah. Pots of Gold was originally like pots of yen. It was weird.
Yeah.
No, but it was really frustrating because it seemed like these hitboxes only extended to you, but not other enemies. So it's like, all right, well, if I get hit in this particular fashion, logically I should be able to like swing my pipe or my yo-yo and hit an enemy in the same fashion, and it hurts them. No. No, you have to be dead on every fucking time, it seemed like. And it drove me crazy. And what drove me the most crazy, where I knew if I didn't have save states, I would have just given this game an F and just fucking moved on with my life, was the final boss, where it's especially apparent with hitboxes, where it's like, okay, these arrows are spaced out a certain way.
Sure.
Logic indicates that's part of the mechanic is that you can get in between these arrows, and they're not going to hit you. Fuck that. Like, you could be perfect, pixel perfect, and then you get hit every time.
Yeah.
But there are other times where the arrow should have, like, in my mind, obviously hit me, because where the arrow's coming down, my character is, it should have hurt me, and it didn't.
Right.
I'm like, where are the fucking hitboxes in this goddamn game? I'm going to lose my goddamn mind. And then it's so outrageously perfectly timed, too. So not only, like, dodging shit, but also hitting projectiles in air or enemies in air. It's so nuanced. Like in that final boss where you have to hit the arrow back at him to hit his little dog or whatever right in its face. Yeah. Like, it's so weird. I almost felt like there was a lag to the game. I wasn't seeing. I'm like, so what the fuck? Like, and the yo-yo only exacerbated it. There's a lot of times in the game where I just wanted to use the pipe. I had problems watching the head of the yo-yo. Like, I had to make sure that is what hit the enemy. Where, like, any amount of the pipe anywhere would hurt an enemy, but the string part of the yo-yo didn't ever seem to do any damage.
Yeah, it's almost like, and I mean, this is another Konami series. This makes sense, but it's almost like Simon Belmont's whip, where it has a delay, and there's definitely a way that it's wanting you to hit the enemy, and it's got its own idea of what success is, apart from my weapon intersected the hitbox of the enemy.
And God, like the final boss, I eventually just said, fuck it. I didn't care about having the yo-yo anymore. I'm like,
Yeah.
it made hitting those arrows so fucking outrageously impossible.
Yeah.
Timing it correctly.
Yeah, I've never beat the final boss with the yo-yo. I've only ever beaten the final boss with coins. And
even with save states, like just trying to dodge the arrows and then trying to keep the yo-yo, I'm like, this is fucking impossible. This is taking way too much time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how anyone would have... You would have had to waste so many quarters in the arcade trying to beat this fucking game if it... Does it have an arcade cabinet?
no,
No,
it
okay.
is. No,
That would have been a quarter drain for sure.
For sure it would have. Yeah, well, and I think it's interesting because you mentioned that you didn't use the coins as a weapon at all.
Not a lot, but...
Okay, because I use the coins in every boss fight, basically. Like, for me, especially with, you mentioned the boss fight, I forget which stage it's in, but the boss fight where it starts out and it's the two sumo wrestlers, and then it turns into the big face. That fight without using the coins is fucking
Easy.
impossible.
Oh.
Fucking impossible.
No, it's not.
The timing on it is...
You know that boss does not hit you in the corners. I found that out. The very extreme left and extreme right.
It does on its last...
Oh, when it like flattens out. But even then, he didn't hit me very often.
Yeah, it does on its last like two sizes. It will. Like you can't get far enough to the bottom left or bottom right to avoid taking a hit on, I think it's the very last size. So you're gonna get hit once, which has definitely burned me in that game, where I'm like, oh, I have 2 bars of life left, and I'm going into this fight.
Oh, he'll smoke you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, if you can get all the way to the end, you're landing the final blow that's going to kill him, and you die. I think those are valid criticisms. Like, definitely the hitboxes are rough.
That's really my only complaint about the entire game, was just the fucking hitboxes just made the game so frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, it's like adding an extra layer of tough difficulty for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Like tough in a way where it's completely unnecessary. Your dad fucking cooking you breakfast on the skillet with a shirt off tough. Like, there's no purpose or reason to any of this shit. But, like, bacon's popping and shit and grease hitting him in the chest, and he's like, ow, ow. It's like, if you just put a shirt on or turn the heat down, it wouldn't be that big of a problem. This game said, no, fuck it, turn the skillet up higher.
Legend of the Mystical Ninja is like cooking bacon with your shirt off.
Cooking bacon with your shirt off.
It definitely feels like a rough draft in places, which is why I will encourage you. One of the fan groups that does fan translations of the stayed in Japan Super Famicom games has gone out and translated the next 4. I think there are 4 more
Jesus.
Super Nintendo Legend of the Mystical Ninja or Ganbare Goemon games. They're well worth playing, and I do feel like, specifically in the hitbox area, they do address some of that. Although I will say, they're also harder. Much, much harder than this one.
Do they have judo attack moves?
I don't know, Kirk! Alright. And with that, are you comfortable saying Neo Turf Masters? And I'll finish Kirby's Dream Course?
Okay.
And then we can do a golf episode?
Yeah.
For next?
Yeah.
Is that cool?
That's cool with me, man.
Alright, let's do it.
Alright.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get the funner game, though.
No. Fuck you. Neo Turf Masters is amazing. On the Queen! Awesome. Alright, well, that's what we're going to do. So, next episode, we are going to talk about Kirby's Dream Course and Neo Turf Masters.
Yeah.
So, we're going to... It's golf. A thing that I know lots about, and I'm at least as well versed on the rules of golf as I am on the rules of Legend of the Mystical Ninja.
Yeah. And maybe a status update on David Wise, too.
Yeah, we'll let you know where we are in that. Just let you know how involved Interpol has become.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you
I
for joining.
might be on like a whole bunch of lists at that point, but you know what?
You're on a bunch of lists already. You're number one on mine.
Oh,
It's sweet and weird.
yeah. You know what list you're not on though?
What?
The judo attack list. Well, that
Fuck
you can learn.
Fuck you. All right, well, let's pee and get another beer, and then we'll actually end this sounding somewhat professional.
All right, cool. Hey, you want to hold it for me, man?
Yeah, man. Of course.
Cool. How big's your cock today?
About the same, very small.
Oh, cool, man.